Imagine this. You wake up on a perfectly ordinary morning in the year 2040. You step out to grab your morning coffee, but the paper in your wallet and the numbers on your banking app, they are suddenly completely meaningless. And no, it's not because of a war or a plague or some massive global blackout. It's something far stranger. The very concept of traditional money is dying.
Just think about the absolute shock of that moment. What if, by the time we actually reach 2040, cash just no longer rules everyday life? The entire invisible system that tells our society what something is worth is just losing its power. Banks lose their central authority, and the fundamental meaning of wealth shifts into something almost unrecognizable. We're not just talking about physical bills disappearing from our pockets here. This is a massive chain reaction that completely rewrites the fabric of everyday life, from how we work to how we quite literally survive. Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp this massive shift, we kind of have to look at what money actually is. Because, it was never really just physical paper or metal coins. It's a shared agreement. It's basically a symbol of trust, acting as a bridge between one person's time and another person's needs. It is this incredibly fragile trust system that has quite literally held modern civilization together for thousands of years. It's what allows complete strangers to cooperate on a massive global scale. So when that specific type of trust breaks down, well, everything has to be rebuilt from scratch. Now, this wouldn't be an overnight collapse. It's more of an invisible, creeping transition. Consider this. In the early 2020s, mobile payment adoption grew so incredibly fast that entire regions virtually leapfrogged traditional banking altogether. Now, let's project that forward, right? Let's trace the steps. By 2026, digital wallets grow exponentially. They just become the absolute default. By 2030, physical cash is rarely accepted anywhere. It actually becomes a total inconvenience for merchants. Moving into 2035, payments become completely invisible. We're talking biometric authentications just embedded seamlessly right into the background of our daily lives. And finally, by 2040, traditional money becomes technically obsolete. It just slowly fades into automated machine-to-machine economies until it no longer feels like the center of human life. Section 1. New winners and losers. You see, this total rewrite of the economy isn't just about technological convenience. It's absolutely about power. It dictates exactly who survives the transition, shifting massive amounts of influence practically overnight. Now, what's really interesting here is the stark divide this creates. On the winner's side, you've got the tech conglomerates, the digital infrastructure providers, and the governments that suddenly control these new automated systems. They literally hold all the keys. But then, look at the losers. The unbanked, the elderly, displaced refugees, and rural communities. Honestly, anyone without reliable access to advanced smart devices, continuous electricity, and stable verifiable identity networks is instantly left behind. You go from being a participating citizen to being completely locked out of the economy in the blink of an eye. It's a really harsh reality, and it's perfectly captured by our source material, which notes, the people who already have the hardest lives are usually the ones who suffer first when the system changes too quickly. This transition is deeply political. I mean, imagine the sudden loss of dignity for small local shops, street vendors, and informal workers who depend entirely on the simple, flexible, forgiving habits of traditional cash. If the new digital system is too rigid and unforgiving, millions simply won't survive the shift. Section 2. Redefining the trust system. So, if the old system of traditional money is just gone, what exactly takes its place? Everyday transactions, your life savings, and even your wages are going to have to fundamentally transform. Just look at how your daily compensation might work in this speculative future. Instead of a standard free-to-spend cash paycheck, your wages could become programmable units. Yep, programmable. They might be tied directly to behavior metrics, carbon use tracking, or social contribution scores. The whole idea of an anonymous transaction, it practically vanishes. Imagine trying to buy a simple cheeseburger, but your programmable money automatically declines the transaction because your carbon tracking says, hey, you've eaten too much meat this week. Your economic value becomes intricately and inescapably linked to exactly how you live your life. Which brings us to a frankly terrifying question. What happens to your old savings, your 30-year mortgage, your pension? These are legacy contracts built entirely under the old rules of wealth. How on earth do you convert a 401k into behavior metrics? The transition risks sparking absolute chaos, endless massive lawsuits, and crippling economic instability if governments don't figure out a perfectly fair legal way to transition old tangible wealth into this wildly different new reality. Section 3. The alternative black market. Because human nature always adapts, doesn't it? Especially when people are pushed out of or simply reject the official system. Exchange doesn't end, it just goes underground. The informal economy is going to absolutely explode. In the old system, we stored value in cash and bank balances, but in the 2040 underground, people will invent completely new ways to measure what actually matters to them. We're looking at alternative exchanges based on physical gold, energy credits, localized reputation scores, and digital access rights. Picture this, someone literally bartering solar energy credits generated from their own roof just to get a decent cup of coffee in a morning underground market. The black market just evolves into these new, fascinating, highly creative, and let's be real, possibly less stable forms of trade. Section 4. The geopolitical shift. This disappearance of traditional money redraws world power maps entirely. It shifts the global battleground away from national borders and straight into network architecture. And this brilliantly illustrates how everything flips. The old world order relied heavily on currency dominance. Think about the immense global power of the US dollar or the euro. But look at the new world order. Dominance completely shifts to whoever controls the digital rails, the identity systems, and the core settlement protocols. Countries and corporations that own the actual network architecture become the new financial superpowers. It simply won't matter how much gold you have sitting in a vault if you don't control the servers where the transactions are actually verified. It forces global diplomacy to learn a completely new, highly technical language. And driving this entirely new global infrastructure is artificial intelligence. Advanced AI can manage pricing, global risk, and resource distribution at speeds human beings simply cannot comprehend. But here is the terrifying part. If machines decide how value moves, who decides the rules for the machines? We could very easily end up living under opaque financial systems that are hyper-efficient, sure, but almost impossible for ordinary humans to question or even understand. Section 5. Liberation or total surveillance. This sets up the ultimate, stark ultimatum that humanity faces in this speculative future. Are we building a fair utopia or an inescapable cage? It's an incredibly delicate balance. On one side, the obsolescence of money could actually mean true liberation. We're talking instantly faster payments, the total elimination of systemic corruption, built-in environmental sustainability, and perhaps even guaranteed basic needs delivered perfectly by algorithmic distribution. But on the exact opposite side, we face a terrifying level of total surveillance. We're talking about perpetually tracked value, artificially restricted consumption based on your social data, and a profound loss of personal freedom. Every single transaction, every movement could be monitored, judged, or restricted in real time. So the crucial point is the deeply human impact here, the psychological toll. Think about the loss of that deeply emotional, satisfying feeling of, I earned it, when you hold a physical paycheck. There will be a strange, profound grief for physical cash, for the privacy and independence it represented. Add to that a constant unease with algorithmic value and a heavy underlying distrust of the whole new system. When an individual's self-worth is no longer tied to tangible money that they can physically hold and hide, the emotional collapse and insecurity for many will be profound, because trust ultimately is the real currency of civilization. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. Will the obsolescence of money feel like a massive, necessary leap forward for humanity? Or the ultimate loss of our most fundamental freedom? It's something to seriously think about the next time you casually tap your phone to pay for a coffee. I encourage you to question the fragile systems beneath our lives today. What do we truly value? If you enjoyed this deep dive explainer of the source material, be sure to subscribe for more. Because once we ask what if, we begin to see the world completely differently.